Well, hello everybody and welcome to Lunch Break Live. Real talk about obesity, food addiction, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Carrie De La Cruz, really surprised to actually be with you today. I mean, I had designs on being here and then somehow my day kind of went off the rails, and up until 3 minutes ago, I was having some riveting conversation about wire O binding and the engineering and mechanics of it all. I mean, it was hard to tear myself away, but I did. But anyway, and our office is full of like clients and vendors and everybody's over there eating lunch. And I'm just like, you know what? I want to do a show. But then it occurred to me that I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. So, I have some ideas. Hi, Mom. I'm so glad you're here. So I'm calling this a grab bag, because there's just no telling. Usually I have an idea of where we're going to go, but boy, right now I just don't. Hi, Priscilla. I'm so glad you made it. Welcome in. So, and Marcus, you made it from New Zealand. Oh, yay. Right on. Hey, it's been a good week, right, guys? I mean, crazy. 5 days. 5 days. For those of you who have been with me all week, I have been here 5 days. Jessica, you made it too. Welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. I wanted to get some feedback from you, I guess. I'm going to throw that out there. So be thinking about it and find out what you think about the content of the show this week. I asked you yesterday, but then I think it was like you guys were all dizzy or something or distracted or whatever. So you never really got back to me. But I want to get a sense of, hi, Christy. Yay, you made it. Woohoo. So I want to get a sense of, do you like the stuff that we're talking about? What do you want to hear more of? I'm getting the sense that self-esteem is a very big issue for us. And so that is a topic of discussion that will never get old with all of us. And that's great, because I actually enjoy talking about that as someone who went from having none to feeling sufficient. Hi, Jerry. Oh, I don't think I've seen you this week, or maybe once or twice. So glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. So I was just bringing everybody up to speed now that everyone is kind of coming in and settling in with me. Today's a grab bag show. It's a Lunch Break Live grab bag, where your feedback is actually going to determine a certain amount of what the show is about. But also, I have some ideas. And I thought what I would do is I would begin with something, as usual, this show comes from my own experiences, what's happening during my day or during my week. And yeah, self-esteem, exactly. So, and this does kind of, hi, Christy. Hey, or Kathy. Sorry, Kathy, I don't have my glasses on. From Texas. How are you? So glad you are here. Or no. Yeah, I saw Florida. See, this is what happens when I don't have my glasses on. It's like I try to read, I try to talk. It's a bad combination. Anyway, welcome. So here's, what I like to talk about is real, because I'm actually working it, doing it, as a part of my own recovery. And so I want to share it with you guys. Okay, so I was thinking that today what I would talk about, at least at the beginning of the show, is communication. Not really, really broad in general, but in specific, what I find is, hi Blanca, hola, bienvenidos, gracias por venir. I was thinking about the fact that communication, I think, is something that a lot of people struggle with. I'm going to say virtually everyone has a struggle with it for lots of different reasons. And I think, so in other words, it's not unique to the world of obesity or even addiction, okay? I think communication is universally challenging because of biases, filters, because of things like stubbornness, perception, and our experiences. And there's all of this stuff that kind of goes into a big pot that can complicate rather than making better communication, okay? So for example, if we think that we're, hola mija, ¿cómo estás? That's me, that's my niece. Hola. So I think that what can happen is we can feel like we are communicating very, very clearly. And the person on the other end can feel like we're not communicating clearly and they don't understand us at all. They don't understand where we're coming from. They don't understand what we're saying. They don't understand what we mean. And I think it's because there's a wall often in the middle between the two people that are communicating, where things, slam up against that wall, and we're lucky if those things get up and over or under somehow so that we can even begin to understand one another. And though that wall, again, is comprised of things like biases, and our experiences. And so, for example, if someone is saying something to us in a way that we have heard before from someone with whom we had a problem, then immediately that person who is saying it is cast in the role of that person. And we might as well be talking to the person with whom we had the problem instead of the person that's standing right in front of us, okay? Sometimes it's a matter, or maybe it harkens back to our childhoods, okay? And maybe it was a parent that spoke to us that way or said something to us. Maybe we felt like we were being lectured endlessly or being put down or being criticized or being judged. And so it is that one of the things that can really, really complicate otherwise clear communication is this, what we bring to it as being on the receiving end of that communication is what we hear. And I think, people talk about the fact that communication is, hi Melissa, is at least 50% hearing. I'm going to say it's even more than that, okay? We do have to listen to what the other person is saying, but we also have to really, really hear. Hi Nancy, we have to really, really hear what the other person is saying. And likewise, I think it's incumbent upon us to be very, very clear about what it is that we're hearing in the form of either repeating back, well, this is what I heard you say, or maybe it's not in the moment. Because sometimes we aren't aware that what we're hearing is setting off alarms in our heads. We just know that something doesn't feel right. And maybe we start to have these emotions and these feelings that bubble up. So case in point, a very specific example of this happened this week at work with one of my coworkers who happens to be open and trusting now. We are establishing a more trusting working relationship. He is more open to listening to what it is that I have to say, and I am more open to listening to what it is that he has to say. And we went through a couple of years of hell, where we were each bringing our own intent to the conversation, and we're saying our own motivations. And in other words, if I said something that sounded like what he said to me, I would mean this. And if he said something to me that sounded like what I said to him, he would mean that. And then you put into that mix that, I might sound like his wife, or I might sound like his mother, or, right? So there's all of this stuff, and he might sound like an old boss that I used to have that I didn't like, or whatever, okay? So in the beginning, as we were establishing our footing, and he was getting used to working with me in my role here, and I was getting used to how it is that he works, and we were able to, after some heated exchanges, to set aside some stuff and realize what it all boiled down to. That when it was that I felt certain ways, he was saying, well, that is certainly not my intention. I do not feel that way. I do not believe that about you. And so I am very sorry that you feel that as a result of my actions and my behavior, what I've said to you. Likewise, I would say to him, well, I understand what it is you need to hear better now, and that when I say this, you don't hear this, you hear that. Okay, so we've been establishing a foundation of trust. And I think that's really, really important. If you want to have clear communication, you got to have a foundation of trust and respect for one another, so that when we're bringing up these issues to one another, we're not feeling criticized or henpecked or judged or belittled, devalued, do you see? So that I think good communication, healthy communication, the foundation is mutual respect, okay? And non-judgment, non-criticism just for the sake of criticizing. And I know a lot of people like to say constructive criticism. Well, criticism hurts, okay? So I like to call it suggestion. Okay, so here is what happened with that long setup. Here's what happened a couple days ago. There is a phrase that many people have used in my life with me that I realize I don't like. I don't respond well to it. And it is, there are a couple of things. When people are talking and we're having what I think is a good discussion, and they'll say, would you let me say something here? Would you let me make my point? Would you just let me talk? Okay, I didn't realize it quite the degree to which that bothered me until maybe a year ago, I began to realize, I don't like that, because the implication to me is that I'm not letting you talk. And the implication is to me that you think what you have to say is more important than what I am currently saying, and that somehow I'm keeping you from making your point. All of those things that I'm gonna front load. I'm gonna put all that into it, right? Okay. The other thing is, can you just let me do this? Can we just do this now? I don't like that either. I really don't, because again, the implication is that I'm not letting you. And I don't really like that. And you're not really asking permission anyway. You're really saying, could you just stop what you're doing right now? That's the implication to me. So after I had mentioned it to him several months ago that I don't respond well to that. I had said it, diplomatically and politely. I don't respond well to that, because I get confused by why it is that you're saying that, why it is that you feel that you're not allowed to talk, whatever. I started the diplomatic route, and apparently that didn't go real well. So 2 days ago when this happened again, would you just let me talk? Okay, would you just let me make my point? What I said in my head was definitely no. No, I don't care what you have to say right now. I'm thinking to myself. I'm sure I was telegraphing it too with my body language. I don't care what you have to say right now. No, I don't want to listen. The fact that you think I'm not letting you talk right now is really pissing me right off. That's the conversation I was having in my head. And I did happen to turn my body and continue doing what I was doing, because he was in there talking to somebody else anyway. And I went ahead and left the room when he was done making his very valid point that I don't even remember. Okay. So I went back to my office and I thought, I'm not comfortable with this, and I need to say something about it. I can sit here and I can suffer in silence, right? And I can get all pissed off about it and all bitter, or I can address it and let him know what it is that I'm thinking, how I heard what it was that he had to say, right? What my beliefs are about this, whatever it is. But here is the key point to this whole thing. It is now up to him, once he is aware of my position, it's up to him whether he wants to do anything about it or not, because guess what? He has the right not to do anything about it. He absolutely has the right to say, okay, good for you, but I'm not going to change. He absolutely has that right, just as all of us have the right, okay? And sometimes, just because someone is unhappy with the way you say something, it doesn't mean that you are wrong for saying it that way. So this, again, is a very fine line, right? Okay, so I sat down, not in my office, not in his office, but in a neutral area, and I said, I just need to bring something to your attention, because I don't want it to fester. I don't want to make more of it than it is, but I thought you should be aware. And it's really not fair for me to be upset about something if you're not aware that I'm upset. And that was how I prefaced the conversation. And I said, when you said this, I want you to know what I heard and the thoughts that I had. And I expressed that to him. And I said, so in other words, if it was that you wanted me to listen to you, the farthest thing from that is what happened. I absolutely shut down and said, absolutely not, will not listen to you now, right? I said, so if you want me to listen to you, you should be aware of what might be stopping that from happening. And now, the other part of this was, I have brought this to your attention in the past. So I do not want you to walk away from this meeting with the belief that I am just overly sensitive and easily offended. This was not a one-off deal. This has been happening for the last few years. I have mentioned it on a couple of occasions, and this time I felt that it was my responsibility to escalate it, okay? So that you would understand just how big a deal it is to me. So again, I put this out here and I say, it's up to you whether you want to do anything about it or not, but I just thought you should be aware that this is a stumbling block to my being able to communicate clearly with you. And then I made suggestions for how it was, at least with me, that he could communicate in the future if he wanted to interject something. He said, well, first of all, I'm very sorry that I did that, because I certainly did not mean for you to feel that way. I didn't mean to come across that way, so I apologize. But secondarily, I believe maybe it is my impatience, he said. I do tend to get a little impatient, which he does. And he said, so I feel like I can't make my point, and then you're going to go on and you're going to make all these other points, and I'm going to forget the point I was supposed to make. So in other words, this is really largely about him. Okay? And I said, well, I tell you what, I'm really receptive to gestures. You know, I'm a speaker, I'm an educator, and I'm a teacher as well. So I tend to, now it's really more challenging with you guys, although I'm seeing lots of happy faces and hearts and thumbs up going by. So that tells me that you're engaged, you're listening to what I'm saying, and maybe you agree a little bit. But I'm looking for visual cues, from the audience when I'm, okay, am I losing them? You know, am I going on too long here? Like some of my shows, I get that sensation. It's like, whoa, cut it, stop, done, long enough, done, right? Okay, so I'm aware of that. So I said, if it is that you feel like you need to interject something, you can just raise your finger. You can go like this, you know, and get my attention that says, I'm going to have a point to make about what you're talking about right there. I said, I'm very receptive to that. I will be very responsive to that. Now, his reaction to me after he insisted on making his point, by the way, was in response to something that I had suggested. And I said, you know, what might have worked, what would have worked really well for me is to say, you know, I actually did think about what you just, that concern that you just had, and this is how I am addressing it. So in other words, it wasn't that my input was in any way unwelcome or not valid, and yet that is how it came across to me. I don't want to hear what you have to say, see? But that wasn't at all what he meant. And I said, so moving forward, you know, go ahead and just say, okay, I hear what you're saying, and I have addressed that. Or, I can understand why that would be a concern. And this is how I, you know, but I'm not concerned because of this. Whatever it is, I said, I respect you enough to listen to what it is that you have to say, okay? So in other words, you don't have to put me off. You don't have to shove me too hard. You don't have to shove me back. I will listen, okay? But so when we were done, you know, we had a clear understanding of one another, and he actually agreed that he would work on it. Even though I went into that meeting, even though I wanted him to work on it, I have no, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not up to me to walk in there and share something with the understanding that he would change, okay? It's nice that he's willing to work on it, but that's not how communication works. Just because I bring something to your attention that bothers me does not mean that I have the right to assume that you will automatically correct and change it, because it may not be a problem for you, okay? So that's, I think, part of our communication. We want to have healthy communication. When we're going into it, we cannot have the, I can't find the word, assumption. You know, we can't assume that we will get what we want. And if that is the goal, the very purpose of our communicating, then we have to step back and rethink what it is that we're trying to communicate. Our job is to communicate what it is that we're thinking or feeling, our beliefs, our experiences, how we're receiving something, right? That's our job, is to communicate that. We can't control what someone else does with that, how they receive it, you know, what they do about it, or if they choose to do anything at all. And I think that is a big mistake, and that is a big source of frustration for a lot of us as communicators, is that we get very frustrated when someone doesn't do what we want them to do. They don't change the way we want them to change. They don't stop doing the thing we want them to stop doing. Well, that's where the wall actually serves a purpose. It is up to me to say, I'm going to hand this over the wall to you, and then it's up to you what you do with it. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And my job is to present it as clearly and unemotionally, okay, and in a measured way. There's no need to be insulting or abusive. There's no need to assault the other person or beat them into submission. I'm just going to present it, even though we are very emotional about the stuff that we're talking about, okay? It's very emotional. This really raised my ire. I got very unhappy about it and very frustrated, okay? But it was my job to not present it, not push it back in the same emotional way, because then we wouldn't get anywhere. I am really happy to say that, at least for now, we made some good progress there. And again, it comes from mutual respect. He is willing to listen to what I have to say. He is willing to consider what it is that I'm requesting, and he is willing to try to do it. Likewise, I am willing to hear what it is that he is saying, so that I also understand his intent when he says something like that. So it all comes down to not assuming the worst in the other person, right? And even if we can't assume the best, how about if we just assume benign, benign intentions instead of assuming the worst, okay? So it's benign. They don't mean anything by it. It's just how we're hearing it, okay? Even if they do mean something, we don't really know until they tell us they mean it, right? And we ask the same level of respect for someone else on the receiving end of what we're saying. So that's, I guess, my little grab bag message about healthy communication. And what does this have to do with recovery exactly? Well, I guarantee you, this is the kind of stuff that eats us up. When we don't feel respected, when we don't feel heard, we don't feel listened to, when we don't feel that someone is being kind to us, or right? Okay, that's the kind of stuff that eats us up, but we don't connect the dots. We just all of a sudden find ourselves, like me, sitting in my office, ready to launch out of my chair, and what do I want to do with that? Oh, I might want to go eat. But I haven't connected the dots and said the reason I want to go eat is because of what he said to me in the kitchen. Do you see? So that is where communication, a healthy communication, and also standing up for yourself, but not doing it in an offensive way. You don't have to do that. Standing your ground. This also leads back to self-esteem, healthy self-esteem. When I feel that I have taken care of myself, that feeds the need that I have to be taken care of. And I feel good about the fact that I was able to handle it, which feeds my healthy self-esteem, my beliefs about myself, and my capability, what I am able to do. I was able to stand up for myself in a respectful, reasonable, level-headed, measured way to make my needs known, to express myself in a clear way, and that makes me feel good about me, because then I don't have to eat over it. Got it? So that's my message for the day. And I'm going to reach for my glasses here and poke myself in the eye while I'm in the process. And look at the bangs here. Do you see what's happening? See, there's just some things that I'm never going to be okay with. Hey, Leah, let me, or is it Lee? Lee or Leah? I never really know. Okay, let me, oh, good. Facebook is letting me scroll backwards today, guys. Shh, don't tell anybody. Okay. So let's see. I said hi to Kathy and Blanca and Noeli, and that's Erika, but she goes by Noeli, and Mama and Melissa and Stephanie. Oh my gosh, with so many people here today, you guys. Hi. And Marcus. Hey, I've been thinking about warped discernment. I have been told that my discernment is warped. Okay, here's a thought for you, Marcus. If you are being told that, my first question is, by whom? Are these respectable people? Are these people whose opinions you respect? Or do they, do they have what is the word I'm looking for? Do they have like a dog in this race or something? Is there an angle that they have? Or are they sharing it with you because they think it would be of benefit to you? You respect and trust their input. That's the first thing. Because again, we don't have to listen to absolutely everything everybody says, meaning we listen, but we don't have to do something about it, or we don't have to believe what they're saying automatically. So first of all, are they believable? That would be the first question I would ask, okay? And if it is coming from certainly more than one person, and those people are people whose opinions you respect, then I would consider that there might be something to it, and that maybe your discernment is warped. Then I would seek out the support and input from people whose discernment you believe is not warped. Okay, you believe have good discernment. I would seek them out, and perhaps as you go about your day and as you find that, I'm really struggling to discern this in a clear manner because I have been accused of having warped discernment, and I have a feeling that could be going on here and clouding my vision. All right, so I'm going to go seek the counsel of whomever that is, your respected, discernment counselor. That's where I would start. I would start by that, because we only learn, things from people who are willing to teach us, or when we pay attention and want to learn. And I would seek the support and input of someone who you respect. Okay, I would start there, and then maybe they can help you to straighten out your discernment. And sometimes it's just a matter of slowing down and walking your horses. We tend to be reflexive, reactionary, and our discernment goes out the window because we just make snap decisions, right? And so part of this, I think, is taking time to sit down and breathe and say, I don't have to make a decision about this right now. Maybe I need to think a little bit more about it. Maybe I need to talk to someone else about it. Maybe I need to bounce this off. In other words, here was my reaction, person that I trust. Does that seem too big? Does that reaction seem kind of not in keeping with what happened, or does it seem about right? Do you see what I'm saying? So use the support and input of others. That's why we're all here for one another, right? We all have different strengths and skills, and I think, look for a discernment buddy. Okay, so that's my thoughts on that. What do you think? Well, that's what I think. See, I should read from the bottom up. Let's see here. Nancy, hi, and Christy, I said that earlier in the show. Huge thing with me and my hubby. You know what? It's also the men and women thing, and, you know, men do think differently. They do communicate differently, and, you know, I have had to learn to step back, and, you know, when talking with my husband and go, now, wait a minute. That is not at all what he is saying. Okay, quick story about my daddy, who was not the most tactful man on the planet ever. And I used to ask him, Daddy, how do I look? And he'd say, you look fine. Okay, that used to hurt my feelings. Oh, I was wounded. I was wounded because when he said fine, guess what I heard? Not good enough to rate you look beautiful. Okay, so something's wrong with me because my daddy doesn't think I look beautiful. Because if he thought I looked beautiful, he'd have told me. That's where I went with that. Now, in his mind, I later learned, he was like, well, you look fine. There's nothing wrong with you. If there was something wrong with you, I would have told you. Isn't that funny? I wanted to hear, you look beautiful. And he said, she's going to want to know if I think she looks bad, but don't worry, I'll let her know. Okay? So communication, just a little. My husband is the same way because, of course, we marry our daddies, don't we? I married my father, and he speaks Spanish as a first language, so imagine the fun of that, okay? I have begun to learn that, look, when my husband says this, it is not the same as when I say this. When my husband says that, it is not the same as when I say that. And I need to step back and realize that we don't all mean the same thing when we say the same thing. And we come from different places, right? And so our job is to stop, right? If we want to be healthier communicators, to stop and go, okay, look, first of all, I'm reading negativity into that. I'm bringing my own experience, my own biases into that. I am really polluting the content of that. If I have any concerns about it, I can ask a follow-up question. So if I say, how do I look? And my husband says, you look fine. All right, so we're good then, right? No problems? No, you look fine. Great, moving on, right? Now, later, I could say, you know, if he says, oh, you look so pretty today, I could say, I really like it when you tell me that. Oh, that just makes me feel so good when you tell me that. Thank you. That means a lot to me. So I am now letting him know the things I like to hear and how much I appreciate it when he shares that with me. Because he doesn't know what I want to hear any more than I know what he wants to hear unless he tells me, okay? So communication, when they say it's a two-way street, which I think is just such a cliche, but it is true. It might even be a four-way stop. I don't know. Anyway, so that's my thought on that. Discernment is a form of communication. Absolutely. Interpreting, understanding what is being said, and into that, you know, it's not just the words that are being said, it is what is the intention behind that. And if you don't know for sure, like for example, when I first started, let's see, I'm trying to remember when I first started losing weight, you know, after weight loss surgery, and people would say things to me, and you know, or you know, they'd say, you know, you lost too much weight, you look too skinny now, or whatever it was, you know, I learned, oh, this was the one, I remember now. You took the easy way out. Okay. Everybody gets fired up about that. I'm definitely going to do a show on that one. But anyway, I learned to say, are you trying to hurt my feelings? Because you know what? Most people aren't. And they have no idea that that could hurt my feelings at all. And they'll usually step right back and go, oh, no. Oh my God, no, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to hurt you. Oh God, right? If they are trying to hurt your feelings, they'll stop because you just called them on it. See? Easy way to handle it. So yes, discernment, intent, right? How would I know their intention? I don't. But a neutral comment like, are you trying to hurt my feelings? Lets them know that they did hurt your feelings. And if they were trying to, they succeeded. And if they weren't trying to, they better do something about it. See? So yes, absolutely. Discernment, I believe, is a very big part of communication. Hey, Doris, I haven't seen you in a while. Woohoo! Hey, how you doing? All right. Let's see. Or is it a feeling in my mind? Nope. Well, I mean, obviously there are feelings that go along with discernment. Absolutely, we have a feeling, an instinct about things, all right? But usually there's logic to it or facts that can back up those feelings, okay? Otherwise, because feelings aren't facts, you've heard that. So if you're just feeling something and there's no facts to back it up, well, then I wouldn't trust them all by themselves, all right? So we need to have a healthy balance, and this was another thing I was going to talk about, between logic right? So being rational and being emotional, I think we have to have a good balance there, and I was going to talk about that, but not today. I didn't have time to prepare. Okay. All right then, guys. And Christy, this was good. Hobby walked in at the end, and I said, see, don't assume the worst. Okay, Missy, you know exactly what I'm going to say. You say, see, I've learned that I need to stop assuming the worst. Own your crap. That's where communication starts. Own your own crap. That's what I say. All right. And Bonnie, hi, how are you? I've seen you online, but I haven't seen you at the show in a while. All right, then. One of the four agreements is don't take things personally. That does help me. Well, yeah, because we make it all about us when we take it personally, right? Oh, this is all about me. And you woke up this morning trying to find ways to hurt me. And you figured, oh, if I want to hurt Carrie, this is the way to do it. I'm just going to say this to her. Pretty sure no. Most people don't do that. Most people just say what they're thinking and not even thinking about how you're hearing it. So don't take it personally. How about stop making it all about you? That's what really works for me. All right. And Krusty. Yes, hey, Christina. I haven't seen you in a long time. We need to connect, girlfriend. We definitely need to catch up. My friend who travels all over the place, but she's largely based in New York and has lost a lot of weight and has gained a lot of life, and I am so proud of and happy for her. All right. Yeah, the fine line. I know. Fine lines. I hate fine lines, too. I have them like here. Oh, those are different fine lines that we're talking about. Right. All right, guys. Well, listen, it is just, I'm burning the midnight oil, burning the clock here, whatever it is. So I'm going to sign off and read all of your comments if there are any that I might have missed offline, and tell you again how very grateful I am that you joined me today and every day that you are able to be with me, whether you're watching live or on demand. And please, I've requested this before, and so this shouldn't sound new to you, but it is very important, and I do appreciate when you do it. Please share. Please share this fearlessly and courageously with other people that might benefit, because that's how we get the message out, and that's how we get to have an increased viewership of people that are gaining these skills and tools that you are, so that they can also live in healthy recovery, so that they also don't have to live under the tyranny of obesity and addiction, okay? So when you share, you're actually, I believe, giving a gift to someone else who might not otherwise know that this gift is readily available to them. So that's number one, is the sharing thing. And number two, give me some feedback. You know, sometimes people watch the show and they're not live, so I don't know you were here. Shoot me a message behind the scenes. You don't have to go into a long discussion with me. Just say, I watched. That lets me know who's watching, all right? Don't worry, I won't call you out. I won't give you the third degree or anything else, okay? Won't ask you follow-up questions. Just let me know that you were here, because it lets me know who's watching, who's enjoying. And then finally, the third thing, I'm sure I only said two, give me some feedback on what you want to talk about. Do you like the stuff we're discussing? What do you want to hear more of? What do you want to hear less of? You know, that's an option too, and I won't take it personally. So I'm signing off on this Friday afternoon, because there's people outside my window looking at me going, what the heck is going on? Clearly they don't see the on-air neon sign. Oh, maybe it's because I don't have one. I had to consider getting one of those. Either that or the hot sign from, what is that, Krispy Kreme? Get a little hot sign. Woo, look at me. All right, I'm letting you guys go. I'm going to sign off and remind you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery through healthy communication. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. I will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.